We have a tendency to move really fast when we get excited, and the real key is to realize it is a marathon. If we don't realize this soon enough, chances are we're going to end up with some serious health issues, perhaps some mental issues, and perhaps a lack of those friendships, those relationships that are actually going to make us enjoy living our life. My name's Turab. I make videos about emotional intelligence, leadership, and business daily to inspire the people watching to hopefully live a more satisfying and a fulfilling life to them. So the conversation that I had earlier today working with some folks in the crypto space, a company that I have the great pleasure of being a systems and operations implementer in, but also a genuine asset for media and marketing is, listen, like when I was in my 20s, I used to spend a lot of time doing a lot of different things, and time was difficult to come by. Time in general for busy people tends to be difficult to come by. So the advice that I was given was, hey, listen, spend 10 minutes every single day, work on your spirituality, work on your physical, and work on just checking in with yourself. If you give yourself 10 minutes a day, you're going to be in a phenomenal shape to be grounded and to actually be more useful to people. Furthermore, I was given the advice to get sleep, and I cannot advocate personally more for getting good sleep in life, because no one wants to be around someone that is in a cranky mood and they really can't do anything about it. At the end of the day, that 7 hours, 8 hours, 6.5 hours, whatever it is that you know that you need in order to be in that even-keeled emotional state, you owe that to yourself and the people that you're working with, because sustainability, the marathon, is what life is about. And if we decide to go sprinting for a while, we might very well hurt ourselves. So I'm working on a lot of things these days. Obviously, the people watching this video are probably working on a lot of other things. So there's a couple other things that I wanted to discuss when it comes to personal relationships that are super, super important. As we're developing ourselves, we tend to want to give advice and we want to give people aspirations to be more like us. And I fall into this trap all the time, and I'm sure many of the people that are really trying to push forward in life also fall into this trap. So my recommendation for that is always make sure that you have people in the right bucket. In your head, there should be people that are for your personal, for the things that make you feel loved and cared for and heard, and there should be people that are there for business, for money, for finance, and there should be people that are there for networking and getting a larger view of the world, right? There's all these different intricate buckets that we have in life, but the importance of separating people into those buckets is realizing that to some degree, we don't want to be a different person for all of these things, but to some degree, we need to be able to talk to those people about the specific problems and issues that we have in those specific categories. And we need to be able to switch on a part of ourselves based on what time we're spending to do that. So something that was really useful for me when I started getting into the productivity space and trying to move into being a more useful, reasonable, and responsible human being is scheduling out time. I use Google Calendar all the time. I have different emails that have different things going on per brand, per company, but at the end of the day, there are times for my personal calendar where I have time with a good friend, time to just hang out and make some music, time to go back and make sure that I am actually being honest with myself. That am I doing too much? Perhaps I should offload and delegate some things. Perhaps I should think about, what it is in my heart that I really want in that week or in that month or in that year. And am I spending the right amount of time doing that thing? What better way to make sure that we're grounding ourselves spiritually, that we're strengthening those relationships that actually make us feel loved, than to schedule time specifically for those moments? The other thing I'd say is when you're in those moments, before getting into that moment, before getting into that hour or 2 hours that you schedule out, try to give yourself half an hour to 20 minutes to just chill for a sec and think about, why have I prioritized this thing in my life? It's going to give you an option of saying whether or not this is still something useful to you, but B, it's going to put you in the right state of mind to make that other person feel like you're there with the intention that you set for yourself and that relationship in general. And most of the time, this is a very, very important thing for us to do in carrying forward and seeing life as a marathon rather than a sprint. My friend, I spend a lot of time these days thinking, doing, planning, and it can be overwhelming, especially when it feels like the world's responsibilities are on our shoulders. Now, I'm in my 20s, I'm 28 years old. I know that there's gonna be a time in my life where perhaps I'm gonna carry more responsibility, but I'm also gonna have more time by virtue of me becoming wiser. Right now, I realize that probably for the next 12 to 15 years of my life, I'm going to need to figure out how to put on more weight on my shoulders and still carry on a pace that I'm actually happy with. And the cool part is that despite working with this person, despite working with these incredible human beings in this company and being very high performing and trying to make sure that all of the little tasks get done, we still align core to who we are as human beings. So that's my last piece of advice, is making sure that we genuinely spend our time trying to partner with people that we actually genuinely align with. People that have a genuine capacity to care or serve as much as we do. People that have a sense of humor like we do. People that like the little nuanced hobbies that we do, or music, or art, or going out into the woods and going on a hike. You know, life can get really, really pigeonholed in a lot of ways, and it usually comes at the cost of our health and our soul. And the key there is to figure out how much we're willing to sacrifice and really try to figure out what type of person we're going to become if we do sacrifice the certain things that perhaps we may have needed all along. Checking back in always is the key, my friend. There is no better friend and no better love than the love and friendship that you can give to yourself. And at the end of the day, if we're not giving that to ourselves, how can we expect other people to feel that gratitude and that level of love and that level of connectedness to society? There's no way really to do that. So it's an infinite balance. I'm not saying I have it all figured out. It's just some things that I'm figuring out along the way, and something that I wish in the beginning of this journey I took a little bit more seriously. The sleep thing is something that comes up all of the time. Some advice that I would give for sleep is, first and foremost, be realistic with yourself in terms of how much sleep you really need to not be a walking husk of a human being. I think a lot of productive people get into this mindset that, I need to do, and, my doing is going to determine how much sleep I get. And the reality of the situation is that you're a human being that requires homeostasis, an equilibrium in your system, spiritually and physically, to actually end up doing those things in a way that is sustainable. It's not a sprint. And the sleep thing, the advice that I would give is choose a time that makes the most sense for you. Choose that window. And for me, it's from 8 to 10 p.m. that I really want to get to bed. Now, do I miss that mark? Absolutely. Sometimes I go to sleep at 12 o'clock at night, right? Not great. But the key is that we're working on it. The key is that we have a structure set in place that allows us to genuinely hit the hay at an acceptable time. Getting into bed and avoiding screens an hour before bed, I know you've heard it. It works. Pick up a good book that you enjoy reading. Maybe just meditate for a second. Maybe that 10 minutes is not in the beginning of the day. Maybe it's at the end of the day. Whatever it is, try your very hardest to get rid of those little distractions, those little habits, those tendencies that try to pull you away from that little sleep that you need, that extra half an hour, that hour that you need to be the truest version of yourself. There is no replacement for a 100% version of you. We need you in this society. And at the end of the day, leaders in general, we tend to be tremendous givers, and tremendous amounts of giving tends to lead to an empty cup, unsatisfying life, and perhaps missing the beauty when we could just have easily seen it if we had half an hour more of sleep. So this is a conversation I have with a lot of my interns in the Turabify Network. It's a conversation I have with a lot of my colleagues that are business owners, that are people that are genuinely aiming towards higher pursuits in their life, in their lifetimes. And it's a conversation that's an ongoing thing. So the last piece of advice that I would give is have the conversations. Ask the hard questions. If you're doing business with someone that's older than you, that's just as productive, if not more productive than you, ask them, hey, what was it like when you were my age? You know, what did you struggle with? What do you wish that you could tell yourself more often? And oftentimes that synthesis of information, that level of communication really sets us up for some success, and maybe will help us get rid of that one little habit that's restraining us from getting that extra hour of sleep at night. My name's Turab. I hope this video found you well. If you made it all the way to the end, you know to subscribe and leave a comment. Smash that thumbs up button. You let me know what you're struggling with. Actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.